And
Lighthouse Singapore is full of bug people, to be fair, and we're not bug people in the West. We can't adopt some sort of collectivist top-down controlled system.
Also, Singapore is rife with organized crime, breathtakingly right, like infested with organized crime. And hey, I'm not 100% against organized crime. I actually prefer organized crime to unorganized crime. Sure. I prefer crime families, if you will, organized groups of people dealing with the seedier side of human culture and society in an organized way than disorganized anarchistic chaos. I prefer that over the other thing 100% of the time, because again, I am a realist. Crime is going to happen. You are not going to stop crime from happening. I would much rather that there is a group out there that is regulating it, that doesn't go too far with it, and that stops the more anarchistic portion of crime their own way, than having no structure there. Again, it's not something I like. The fact that it exists, but it does exist. So
I can see where you're coming from, and I can agree to an extent until the point that the state realizes, wait, why are we trying to destroy this? Let's just work with it. And then I think you might get a bit more problems.
You need to. So okay, the example that I give is executioners in medieval era Western society. Remember how you know how they were treated?
Not exactly.
So executioners were widely considered to be a necessary part of society, because that's how you dealt with criminals back then. And they were respected to a certain extent, but they were deemed to be improper and they lived outside of the city. They lived outside of society and of culture. So that's kind of how it should be. You'd be like, look, if you want to engage in that life, that is fine, but you are living outside of society. Like, it is a necessary thing. And no, I don't think that legitimate governments should overtly work with it, but it should be a live and let live type of policy where it's like, all right, don't get too bad, don't overstep your bounds, and we will let you do your thing to a certain extent. Where that's because otherwise you get anarchy. Otherwise you get random shootings on the street. And the thing is, if there is a war inside that part of society, if there is shooting in the streets, then yes, law enforcement comes in and wipes both of them out. Absolutely. It's the way it should be. You can't work on your own shit, then guess what? We come in and we wipe you all out. You know, it's a difficult thing, but saying that it shouldn't exist, saying that there should be no crime, that's unrealistic. There's always going to be. As long as there are laws, there's going to be crime. And I believe that
I think a sufficiently healthy society might be able to get rid of enough crime that you don't even need organized crime instead. But either way, maybe a different topic.
Well, you're always going to have gray areas. You're always going to have gray areas.
Sure.
Because cultures change, values change, and you are always going to have people that exist slightly outside of those values.
Because as right now we can least pro-mafia Italian.
The mafia does not exist. But like, you are always going to have, like, because like right now we consider prostitution and gambling and drug use to be wrong, to be illegal, to be a vice. Yes. In lots of the Western world, people believe these things to be a vice that should be minimalistically used, if not used in any way, shape, or form. Well, there are people that are going to exist outside of that, outside of those cultural judgments, that still want to engage in those things. And that is where the underworld exists. And that should be regulated by its own culture, its own society that exists outside of our mainstream culture. And it should be organized and it should be regulated by itself. The government, the legitimate side of the government, should have nothing to do with it, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. And trying to say that it shouldn't exist and we're going to eliminate completely is just an excuse for overarching law enforcement bodies like the FBI to exist and gain funding, because they know it's never going to not exist. No, that's my organized crime is a necessity spiel.